there were days where I was in the fetus position in my new home. And when I say I was in the fetus position, I was literally in the fetus position. And I'm grateful for my employer. I'm grateful for colleagues, and I'm grateful for my sister circle. Because as a mother of 3 children, you carry those kids. You still have a connection on this side because they were once a part of you. I was like, how am I going to make it?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Soul of a Man podcast. I am your co-host, DB.
And I am Michael Humphrey, a.k.a. Chill.
Chill. It's good to see you, brother, as always. So we actually have a return guest. This is a to-be-continued episode. First in Soul of a Man podcast history, in our short history. We have with us today none other than the Dr. Laura Colson.
Yes.
As you know, you've probably watched the first episode. Laura had gone through a divorce. We talked about that. We talked about her healing journey, what that process looked like. Talked about the book she's written called Restore Your Joy. This is a book that helped her get through this process. It talks a lot about what she had to go through. Talked about her, what I call sister circle, her circle of influence. And if you had a chance to review her episode, I would say hands down it was a very, very, very good episode. For 2 guys who are doing this podcast, this is a very difficult topic to sort of breach. People would look at us and say, all right, you have a young lady on your show who has gone through a divorce. You've only gotten her side of the story. You've not gotten the ex's side of the story, and we respect that. We could seem to be kind of soft because we don't want to press the issue too much. And then you'll get someone says, well, you guys are being too soft because she's a woman. So we got, a
lot of feedback.
Yeah, a lot of feedback. You can go too hard on one hand and you can go too soft on the other.
Yeah.
But we thought it was absolutely necessary to have another episode. And in doing so, I'm just going to jump right in. I don't think she needs any other introductions. You heard him on the first one. You know all about her so far. We're going to dive in because I got some questions.
All right. You ready?
Gotta be ready. Stay ready.
I can't front. You said something on numerous occasions, and this is just like, people are like, where the hell is this coming from, Darren? This is out of left field. But it kind of bothered me. You talked about my house quite a bit in episode 1. When you are married to someone, at least this is what I think, regardless of who owned it first, how you got it, or whatever, it is still, it becomes you all's house, not my house. I've been down this road before, so this may be a bit personal for me, so you guys got to forgive me. I want to start there. Out of all places I can start. Talk to me.
So interesting and appreciate it and respect it. And actually, I'm still in a reflection mode, right?
Okay.
And so I'm glad you brought that to my attention because actually that kind of stung when you said that. And I was like, wow, I guess I did say that. And I did say that. So I'll say that came from the fact that my perspective in my marriage, there were a lot of things that the 2 of us truly didn't become one, right? The 2 become one.
Yeah.
A lot of things were separate. Like there were very few, when I reflect, in my opinion, there were very few things that we truly did together.
Wow.
Right? And even when it came to the home, there was not a lot we did together. So why do I say my house? My house One, because I didn't feel the support, right? I truly felt like I was doing it all on my home, even though I knew it was our house. From the, I can't believe I'm going to bring this up, but Steve Harvey, he says, a man, he as a man, I won't say a man should, he as a man professes, protects, and provide, right? And I didn't always feel that. You know, it almost was like a begging for. So whatever I did, it became mine. I held on to it because this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. And so my house, with making every mortgage payment, it was my house, right? Again, I respect, it was both of our houses, but my perspective, it was my house contribution wise. That makes sense.
Got it.
But I get you, you know, and I can say it as a woman. I was wrong for that. That was our house, right? So it is what it is.
But you had the house.
This house, no, this was the second house. When we first got married, that was solely,
Truly your house.
Truly your house.
completely, yes. And then I think it's 2 years later, we moved into the second house, yeah.
So do you think this term, a man will give a woman a house and she'll turn it into a home, that almost sounds like it really holds true in this? And he didn't, I'm assuming, I'm speculating, didn't necessarily give you the house to turn into a home. So you just deemed it as your house. So you kind of Run DMC, Run's house.
Right.
Laura's house.
Right.
Whose house?
So I think I told you all last time, I get up every morning and I do devotional. So this morning I was reading one about default mode. And default mode talks about how we as individuals, we default to what we know and what we learn, what we experienced as kids. In my perspective, from my world, my dad provided the home. I saw my mom take the home and make the home. It was their home.
Absolutely.
So that's my lens of what I expected. Was that what he experiences? I can't speak on his behalf, right? But that's what I was expecting, right?
Yeah, and again, I'm not necessarily questioning your thought process around it or anything. It just, it's more of a curiosity question again. It's kind of personal to
Yeah.
me, having been there.
Yeah.
I guess the next thing from the previous episode, unless you had a question about
Yeah,
that.
just piggybacking on something that you said, which was there were a lot of things we didn't do together. What were some of those other things, and when did you realize within your marriage, you know what, we really haven't come together to accomplish X, Y, and Z? When did it become clear to you that I'm kind of driving this? Or if that was even the case?
As chapter 1 says, crazy in love, right? And I believe when everyone meets their soulmate, forever love, it's fun, right? I don't think we really get into the real deep butt naked conversations that we should be having at the beginning, understanding each other's backgrounds, understanding what you're truly expecting. I think we hit those highlight points, but we don't go into the detail, and the devil is in the detail.
Yeah.
So joint accounts, never had.
Not a single one.
Joint accounts, never had. I said, let's come together. No. Joint accounts, never had.
Because a lot of folks.
Joint accounts, never had.
Husband count. Wife account.
House account.
House account.
House account.
Correct.
No.
No.
Okay.
Even worship. He attended his church. I've been at my church since I was 5, right? And that was one thing that really bothered me when I was getting married, because I was like, oh my God, we're going to get married. I'm going to have to leave my church and go to his. If he asks me to, I will.
Okay.
It was going to be hard, but from my default mode, wives submit to husbands, the two become one. I follow him and treat me never to. Right, right. That never happened. I think we had a conversation though. The one thing was at my church, there was a lot of ministries for youth and things like that. But still, we worship some, but we didn't worship consistently together. And again, I highlight on that in the book.
How old were you when you got married?
Ooh, 20. Right, right now, right, right. 20, maybe 5-ish, something like that.
So
Young.
So,
It's young.
right. So, perspective. Watched a TD Jakes sermon one time,
Okay.
and it talked about men and women. Young ladies, we grow up playing with dolls, princesses.
Yeah.
We dream of marriage.
Yeah. Watch where you're going now.
I'm just saying.
There's some follow-up questions.
Right, I'm
Yes,
sure.
okay.
Young men score, sports, trophies, things of that nature. So, as I've talked to some friends, when you think about women, get your high school diploma or whatever, check. Get a great job or go to college, check. The next thing most of the time is get married, have a family. It's not necessarily the same for males, right? And so I quote unquote check the boxes.
So this leads me to sort of a general question as it relates to that. Because 25 is, in some cases, relatively young to get married, especially for a guy, just to be honest. Because we're mentally not 25 at 25.
He was a bit older.
Okay. And this is more of a general question just about society as a whole. And as well as you. Do you think, especially women, because they start off so young playing with dolls, you got Barbie, you got Ken, they're married, blah, 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 you move on. So a lot of times they get enamored by getting married and not being married.
Wedding
And not the marriage.
That was my follow-up.
Do you think that had anything to do with your situation? And part one. Part two, I do believe it has a lot to do with when I look at society and people getting married, because the pop circumstance is great. That's not where the work comes in.
In the previous episode, we asked how many people were involved in this wedding. My daughter just went to the Barbie movie, Barbie crazy. She played with the dolls.
It was a lot.
Dream house, Corvette, Big Ed Ken shows up. And she had the wedding day and the whole night. Girls dream of that.
We do.
Were you caught up in the dream, Friendship Baptist Church, from childhood, this is your family church, big congregation. I alluded to it being the event of the spring.
March Madness. As you call it.
As you call it. The event of the spring. Were you blinded at all by the event? 13 line sisters, all 13.
12.
12 sorrows.
12 saws. Brothers ain't got 12 friends.
That was my line.
Even if we pledged.
Even if you pledge, you ain't got 12
brothers
to line somebody up. How we find them is bro, who got a job that can rip the tuxedo? So you done put him in a position where he got to find 12 brothers to line up with your 12 sorrows, were you blinded at all? You've been waiting for this, you're like, were you blinded at all? And I add to that the proposal. I had a problem with the proposal. Personally, as a man, you let him off the hook. In the last one, you said, it was on me. I said, not tossing the ring at you. That wasn't on you. That was on him. I got a problem with that.
Mhm.
I got a problem with you not seeing that as a red flag.
Mhm.
That won't cue.
Mhm.
That won't Ken proposing to Barbie. He, in his angst, tossed this ring at me to pledge his love to me. Got a problem with that.
Mhm.
You defended it.
Mhm.
You still defend it?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
Because one, and I'll get back to your other questions, I think.
Yeah.
I do because again, the book doesn't tell everything,
Okay.
right? And I know the situation. So the situation, I don't know if I talked
Yeah,
about
you
this.
did.
Okay. So I do. At this point, yes, I do defend. So going back, was I blinded?
Yeah.
If I was blinded by anything, I was blinded by what I experienced as a child between my mother and my father. I was looking forward to marriage.
Okay.
As Keith Sweat says, make it last forever. I had planned one and done. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it and do it well this first go round, because it's not going to be a second go round. That was my perspective.
You're off the hook with that one because it was mine too.
That was my perspective. If I'm going to do it,
Twice.
this is, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the way I desire, because this is it.
But you
This is the
saw what
one
it
that
looked
God kept from me.
You grew up in a household where you saw what it looked like. I did too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let you off the hook.
And again, like I said, that was my default mode. Again, I didn't do the digging, or we didn't have those conversations about our backgrounds. And I don't think even through premarital counseling, there's not conversation about, do you talk about your backgrounds, right? Backgrounds are critical because who we were as a child still impacts us as adults.
Early childhood trauma.
Right. Right. So yes, there's still certain things, even though I'm on this side post divorce, I do defend. And
But this wasn't trauma. This was your example at home.
mm-hmm.
Well, no,
Maybe not the best term.
What she said is that understanding people's backgrounds, not necessarily
hers,
right?
Maybe his.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
But yours
Mhm.
was
Mm-hmm.
the example
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of what Black love looked like. You
Mhm.
stuck and stayed. They fought through.
Mhm. And that was what I was working to do. Because on that day, March 1st, 2003, it's pouring down rain outside and we're inside. All of our friends and family are there. I took vows with him. And the way that I was raised and what I understood at the time was, this it. Till death do us part. That means, Shaka Khan said, through the fire, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna sing it, but I ain't gonna do that right now. But that's what I was I was ready for.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So you've given the pass for the proposal. I mean, not my thing. I'm kind of on the fence because I think any man knows how to pivot if we have to.
You pivot.
You mentioned the last time that the proposal for a man is stressful, and it is.
It is.
It is. So I'm gonna give him a pass too, because I'm not here. Again, he's not here to defend himself, so I'm not even gonna go there. But there's certainly, you can certainly pivot.
Right.
Prior to that, he'd asked your father for your hand in marriage. Pops is like, yeah, no, correct?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you couldn't tell, it was hard to tell whether your dad was joking or serious,
Mm-hmm.
but there's always some seriousness even in jokes.
Even in joke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, could it have been that your father had some sixth sense um, that this may not be the one?
Hindsight is always
Of
2020,
course.
right? And so that information to me is secondhand. I wasn't there. But I would believe it because I know my dad and people know my father. He's serious, but he jokes too. So I don't know, right? But hindsight being 2020, looking back and now reflecting 4 years after being divorced, my dad did have a sixth sense. And I do believe he may have been saying no, but he knew his little girl and what she wanted, and he would agree to disagree.
Okay.
Um, from some of the actions, even I woke up to go get my hair done that morning, the morning of my wedding, and my dad was sitting at the salon, right? He was sitting there to pay for me to get my hair done and all of that good stuff. So I think there was some separation concerns. I really do. I
So
really do.
this is going to take me to another
Mm-hmm.
question. Same vein.
Mm-hmm.
She can always come home. I think I asked you during the last episode, do you think that was fair? Uh, right, there's no right or wrong answer. This is just me sort of framing it. I'm a girl dad. I have three of them. Would be the exact same way. You're a girl dad.
I'm a girl dad. There's a video that is all over the internet right now. An Asian father, you may have seen it, may not have, his daughter's wedding, and literally as he's handing her off at the end of the aisle, he has comments with the groom, and one of those, I mean, he's breaking down bad, and like I'm giving you my baby, but this is my baby. And if you ever feel and get to the point that you don't love her like you love her on this day, give her back to me. And I remember our conversation from the initial episode, saw this video, and even when you said it, said, yeah, I would say that. I would absolutely positively say that. I don't know if it was fair.
So this is what I'm going to say as it relates to that, because I'm going to kind of play the other side of the fence, and I have three daughters,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be tough. But in the case of the video, the guy sent it in front of the fiance and the congregation.
Yeah,
Bad timing.
yeah,
His poor timing on the father's part.
yeah, yeah.
If I say this to a young man and my daughter's standing there as well, I think that's piss poor timing also. I need to remove my daughter from that equation at that moment. I need to have a one-on-one with that young man.
And that was what happened.
Okay,
It was a
you
one-on-one
weren't
with
there.
them.
You
Nope.
weren't there.
Because again, same scenario. This secondhand, I wasn't there, so I can't remember if my ex told me this or my dad himself told me this. But yeah.
And so now, but still, even on
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
I am taking what I have done for 25 years in your case, what I, as a father, helped mold, shape, in the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I am saying to a young man who hasn't spent really year one, well, hadn't spent year one as your husband, you need to do this, 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 or you can send her home.
And I got her.
And I got her. I don't know the answer to this, and so this is a question for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really fair?
Mm-hmm.
Because now so not only that, as a daughter, you already know,
I can go
well,
home.
if this ninja don't act right, I can go home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you already have an out. Whether you know it, believe it, or whatever, there's an out that has already been given. And if I say that to my daughter, I'm giving her an out.
Mm-hmm.
If I said to her, the only way you can come home is if you're getting beat or cheated on, but everything else you got to stick and stay.
Mm-hmm.
at least I take some of that out away from her.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, yeah. I'm looking for help because
I'm there with
I think
you.
it's some BS that us. I'm just being honest. As men, I love my daughters like there's no tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm being unfair,
Mm-hmm.
realistic
To the guy?
To the guy.
I felt the same way. It's absolutely a comment I would make to
Yeah.
a young man, knowing the way that I love my daughter, but it's saying to him, for me, when you fail, I got her.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of need you. I mean, we don't really need you. We don't really need you. I'm granting her to you,
Mm-hmm.
but she don't really need you. I got her for life.
Yeah.
I got her for life.
Well, I think as you all are engaging about it, I think that's more of a male,
Yeah.
more of a male thing. I really,
Well, it is,
I,
but it's not because
so,
again,
so
it's
yeah.
a male thing.
So this
The
is my
woman
thing.
has it planted in her mind that I can always bounce.
So this is right. However, my father and my mother and even my brother know me, of course, better than anybody. They know I'm a go-getter. When I set my mind for something, if I set my heart on something, it's a point of no return. And I'm going to do what I can to get it and to keep it. And that's what I did. So, regardless of what my father may have imposed or stated, the way that I was showed completely different, that I didn't want to go anywhere. When I made those vows, I ain't going back to daddy. I ain't going back to mama. I don't want that. I want you.
Here's a crazy question though. Why? And this is another generalization. I'm sure there's some people who do.
Mm-hmm.
But why doesn't anyone tell the son if she tricks off on you, she's the one. So you can always come on home.
And that's what I'm trying to get people to pay attention to. And we begin to do things differently when it comes to relationships with our children. With our children. One thing I said, and I don't know if it was in the last episode, one thing that my ex-husband said that has resonated with me and I greatly appreciate it is he wasn't responsible for my happiness. I'm responsible for my own happiness. And so I have two sons and a daughter. And I talk to my son in the same manner. I'm telling him now, I think people negate children in their feelings, but children are little people with feelings too. And I think people have disregarded puppy love and things like that too, because again, children are little people with feelings. And I've told my son, if you ever get to a point where you're with a young lady and you don't want to be with her anymore, let her know. Just be honest. I said the worst thing you can do is just be with somebody just to be with somebody. And I tell my daughter the same thing. If you're not feeling that person anymore or whatever, be honest. Communication is the key. Y'all know how I feel about communication. Was my communication great in my marriage? No, it wasn't. But I've learned from it and I'm trying to help other people through what I experienced. So whether it's people who are still married now who might be going through some challenges, or there are people who want to be married. That's why I'm engaging in these conversations. I'm trying to be that vessel for people to see she's human, right? I wasn't perfect in the marriage, right? It took two to get to the point of divorce.
So we focused on him the last time. How were you not perfect?
So I was having a conversation with my friend as we were driving here, and I said, now being on this side, I've had an opportunity to really reflect and look back on boyfriends or male associates that I've had. And with them, as with myself, I want to win, right? How can we win together? How can I help you win? And I've had to learn that I'm pulling back now. Like, just because you want to win doesn't mean somebody else want to win. They might just want to, everybody gets a trophy type of competition. It may not be, I'm trying to get to the next level competition. Or again, a person has to want for themselves more than you do. And just taking things that I could see and hear, I was trying, I think, entirely too much. I think I was an enabler too.
What's good, soulmates? This is your boy Chill. Hope you're enjoying the episode. But we wanted to reach out to you and just say thank you for all of your encouragement and support of the Soul of a Man podcast. It's been tremendous, and we are grateful. We need your continued support, though. So while you're watching the episode, make sure that you click like, and also make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Truly, from our soul to yours, thank you. Now let's get back to the episode.
Wives, submit to your husbands, right? And then also what I saw with my parents. I don't know everything that went on with my parents, because you just don't know. But when my dad couldn't do something, my mom was right there to help. And that's what I worked to try to do, right?
But you just said a key word. Your mom was there to help.
Mm-hmm.
She was a helpmeet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nowhere does it say in the Bible, be an enabler.
Mm-hmm. And so again, I was helping, but I don't know if my helping became, oh, well, she got me, so I'm just going to sit back and just let her do. Or was it genuinely he didn't know how, couldn't, or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, so as it relates to projects, I think women tend to, and again, don't kill me on this, guys. This is just what I see. Women tend to take the role of Bob the Builder faster than we do. Men typically don't take on projects,
Mm-mm.
and if we do, we're not going to put a whole lot into it. We may window dress it just so we can get it looking like how we want it to look, and that's more for our own guilty pleasures. We're not necessarily trying to change,
Mm-hmm.
rebuild, build up anybody. What do you think it is, and where do you think that came from, that this is so prevalent amongst?
Of a pattern
Yeah.
amongst women, and for you specifically, who've admitted, with the title even, of being a project chick.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I call bullshit. I told you in the last episode, I know your household.
Mm-hmm.
You could have picked me up and put me in your parents' house, and I wouldn't have missed a beat. We could have picked you up from Charlotte, put you in my parents' house in Greensboro, wouldn't have missed a beat. Educators,
Mm-hmm.
whole nine.
Mm-hmm.
Big church,
Mm-hmm.
everybody knew them.
Mm-hmm.
Many college, A&T, all of Black Greensboro knew who they were.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in Charlotte, Black,
Mm-hmm.
and most probably have the white, know who your parents and your people are.
Mm-hmm.
Your church knows
Mm-hmm.
your parents and your people.
Mm-hmm.
They know it. You went to high school, excelled, academic, excelled, good girl, student athlete. You were groomed in Charlotte Black society. You had every opportunity and way you could go because you were in those circles of other Black Charlotte. Jack and Jill, maybe, maybe not. Don't know. My mother, that wasn't her thing. She didn't let us do it. It wasn't her thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you were in those circles. People knew you were in those circles. Why in the world did you choose the same type of project dude every single time.
Honestly,
Because to me, that's something internal.
yeah. So again, hindsight is 2020. In my book, when I was staying with my parents, and I asked my dad, it was a time I said, I feel like you didn't like me or something, right? And he said, I'll never forget, he sat there and I could see tears in his eyes, and he said, I didn't know how to raise a daughter. And now when I reflect and I remind myself of some of the things that he told us growing up about his life and things like that, similar. And they say girls tend to what? Marry their father. And though my dad worked hard, not he worked hard to break the generation. I'm not gonna call them curses. I call them practices. He worked hard to break the general practices of his family.
Okay.
It was still difficult with raising me. And so there are similarities between my ex and my father.
Wow.
Yeah.
You didn't share that in the first episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
That explains a lot.
And it's not a lot. I'm just saying, like, my dad wasn't raised in the home with his father and mother, right? Same thing. So there's some similarities, but neither one of those individuals are here, to speak for themselves. But again, hindsight is 2020. When I really analyze now, and I'm doing a lot of analyzing, soul searching on this side, there were some similarities.
Between the guys and between each of the guys,
Mhm.
each of your projects
Mhm.
and your dad.
Mhm.
So not just your ex, but even the ones who preceded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it might be something small, but I could see it.
Did projects bring you joy? The project relationship?
No.
Okay.
But this is my thing. Whatever I'm in,
You in.
I'm in.
Got it.
I'm in until it's starting to bring harm to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I'm all about growth. Let's learn. How do we become better? How can I become better? What do you think? I'm a team player. Like,
So
I
this
don't,
is this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
no, I was going to say, I don't actually know how to describe it, but I want everybody to win. I want all of us to be the best that we can be.
So this is for that person, that young woman coming behind,
Mm,
considering marriage,
mm,
engaged.
mhm,
Um, there was a point where you started getting the red flags, and as I mentioned in the last episode, as I read through the book, it was like on the edge of my seat, like she's out, and I hate to be rooting you to leave,
mhm,
but it's like she's done this time. Okay, she's out. Okay, whoa,
mhm,
she's done. She's
mhm,
done. And this went on for some time.
mhm.
This went on for some time.
No one goes into a marriage expecting divorce. No one goes into a marriage, I would hope, wanting divorce. And I can't say you, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just me. Is it me and my perspective, and I'm not just seeing things the way that I should? Have I done everything in my power that I can do for us, right? And most importantly, how did I say we start off? We took vows, not just us, but with God. And I don't play with the man on high. And so I wanted confirmation, restore the joy, a transformation through confirmation. I wanted confirmation that, yes, my daughter, the fruit of the spirit is what I want you to live by. peace, happiness, those types of things. I wasn't at peace. I wasn't happy, right? He did not create us to live in misery. And we grow. People grow. No one stays stagnant. Life is cyclical. I was growing. He may have been growing in his own way, but we weren't growing together. And what kept me? Well, Val said, till death do us part. So I'm sitting here like, well, he ain't beating me. You know, there were other things, but he's not beating me. So do I have justification or the right to leave? Everybody else, yes, you would think, yeah, you should have been gone. But I had to make the decision for me, because at the end of the day, I have to live with me. So I had to shut out all the noise, friends, family, because guess what? Friends was at that wedding. Families have been there. They were at the wedding. And there was a time where I was concerned about what other people had to say. Again, she had this big marriage. It looks like everything isn't what it seems. Everything isn't what it seems. And I had to be okay for myself and know I could do this for myself, right?
So I respect that a lot, because I think a lot of people will run at the first sign of
Yeah,
trouble.
right,
I mean,
right,
people leave marriages because somebody leaves a toilet seat.
right, right,
It's stupid. They don't stick and stay. They don't try to work it out and,
Right.
and do their own self-reflection and
Right.
everything else. So
Right.
I give you a lot of props for actually.
right.
A lot of props for that. Flip side of that is, how long do you go before you're a shell of yourself and need to? And I know every situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
Every situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go into it expecting to leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go into it
Mhm.
wanting divorce.
Mm-hmm.
But how far did you go down that path when you are a shell of who you were? No, nobody laying hands. You know, things can be sideways or even abusive in different ways than putting your hands on somebody. Emotional abuse, verbal
Mm-hmm.
abuse, just folks in their tone can be abusive. But it's like, you know, you, and I'm not encouraging folks to leave, but in the same breath, you can't stay in situations where you are torn down to nothing.
And I think I said it the first go round, and again, this is hindsight for me. Communication, number one, is the key. They say finances, sex, communication. Communication is the key, because with communication, the other two are in order. Women, can't speak for men, but women, we have intuition. You can't ignore it. Don't ever ignore it. It's been given to us for a reason. Seek and ye shall find. If I wanted to find a lot of stuff before, I'm sure I could have. I found enough, right? Um, and again, like I said before, you got to save yourself. You know when you're not right, when things are not right. You know it. You can't ignore you. You can't ignore you.
Book, Restore the Joy, um, got to the point where you know, I've got to bring this to an end. It gets extended about a year,
Mm-hmm.
not your choice, but it gets extended about a year. And even in the state of North Carolina,
It's a year.
There's a year stay,
Yeah.
you know, before you can even file. But Restore the Joy. What were your steps to healing? What was the process of starting this restoration, of starting to heal?
My favorite word is choices. I had a choice. Most of the time when people go through divorces, what do we hear? Bitterness, anger, frustration. Again, you talk about me and my circle and people who know me. I had to remember that too. Not that I had to care about other people, but I had to remember I have too much to lose to let this divorce crumble me, right? Here I go spiritual again, but that's what got me through. My spirituality got me through. He put me back together again, right? And it was hard, but I had to make a choice. I said, I will not allow myself to be as I've seen or heard. I will come out better. I had to go through for my breakthrough, through trials, hurts, regrets, obstacles, uncertainty, guilt, and heartbreak to get to my breakthrough. God has something better for me. And second thing, seasons. Everything happens in season. I had to go through that season for me to be where I am now. So I wanted to use this as a way for me to restore who I was, but for him to create a new creature in me. I always prayed, allow me to be your willing vessel. But I also had to tell myself, okay, oh, that's good. But guess what? You're going to go through some shit. There were days where I was in the fetus position in my new home. And when I say I was in the fetus position, I was literally in the fetus position. And I'm grateful for my employer. I'm grateful for colleagues, and I'm grateful for my sister circle. Because as a mother of 3 children, you carry those kids. You still have a connection on this side because they were once a part of you. I was like, how am I going to make it every day? And I don't have my our children, but my children with me. That was the hardest part. And I had to tell myself, as one of my good friends says, feel what you need to feel, but don't stay in it. Feel what you need to feel, but don't stay in it. Did I cry? Yeah. Was I in the fetus position? Yeah. Did I not eat? Yeah. Did I sometimes lash out at him? Yeah. But divorce is a death. You got to go through that, right? As much as I wasn't feeling him anymore, I'm still mourning because we've been together this long. We've lived together this long. We have it was a mourning. I went through mourning. But I also said to myself, okay, this is a time for reclamation too. Reclaim your time, as our sister Maxine says, right? So when your kids aren't with you, what you gonna do with it? You gonna stay in the bed forever? Or you gonna get up, go do some things that you couldn't do before, right? You got a lot to live for, right? Your latter will be greater and your best is yet to come. My good friend had to shake me and say, you can do this. I'm thinking I couldn't. I'm serving as a dean, right? Successful.
Right.
But I'm thinking I couldn't do it on my own. Why? Because of the financial struggles in the marriage. On this side, I haven't missed a beat. I haven't missed a beat. So I had to do the work on me. I couldn't ignore it. I had the conversation with people. Grateful that I had the conversation with my dad before he passed a couple of months later, right? That wasn't nobody but God. So anything that comes to me, that questions me, that makes me feel any kind of way, I'm head on. I ask the questions. I do the work. I've had 2 counselors and a life coach. I do the work for me so I can be whole and at peace.
I think it's important to emphasize the fact that it was a mourning period for you, and divorce is oftentimes described as a death. And I can't remember whether it was 6 or 7, maybe even 8 stages of mourning. I'd love to be able to call them all out, but I'd be paraphrasing horribly. But shock and anger, sadness, um, you know, in those various stages. And it sounds like you went through all those stages of mourning. And I can say I absolutely positively did myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I stress that because I have to emphasize the point from a male perspective,
Mm-hmm.
that in those scenarios, they're all different. Men hurt too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True.
And we
Right.
go through those, if it meant something to you,
Mm-hmm.
you go through those same stages of mourning,
Mm-hmm.
just as your female
Mm-hmm.
counterpart.
And what I did also was I engaged in conversation with males who had experienced or were experiencing the same thing. My brother was going through a divorce right before me, and actually that kept me in mind longer because I was like, let me keep trying to fight, let me keep trying to fight, right? But I personally like talking to males because I get the female perspective all the time. Like I talk to males, I'm feeling this, or should I feel like you think I should? I got this because I like getting the other side. I've learned that I'm different. I don't care what anybody says. I'm very different, and I'm okay with that. Um,
Interestingly enough, again, on another point,
mhm,
um, specifically regarding your children and them not being there all the time,
mhm,
we share that
mhm,
as well.
mhm,
It was 2 years for me
mhm,
of running up and down highway
mhm,
to sea and
mhm,
whole nine. I'd never been apart from
mhm,
them, ever.
mhm,
So I'm talking about in 17
mhm,
years, a broken person,
mhm,
totally and completely
mhm,
broken, and trying to,
mhm.
and it taking 2 years to get to a point of, yo, you still got life
Mhm,
to live.
mhm,
And um, their absence is killing you.
mhm.
Um, but in this absence, utilize it to make yourself
Right,
better.
right.
At this stage where you are now, open to relationships, open to the thought of marriage again.
Mhm. Definitely. God has a forever love out there for me. You know, I've been dating, but again, it's God, it's family, right? And so my kids come first. I haven't brought anyone around my children.
I was about to ask you, somebody just getting
I haven't brought
how does
anyone
that
around my
work?
children in 4 years. I haven't brought anyone around my children. There was a meme I saw somewhere and it says, love in private, live in private, something else in private. I'm big about privacy. And when it comes to relationship, my children are always watching. I don't care about anybody else, but my children are always watching. And when they're with me, I'm 100% theirs.
Yeah,
And so whoever is my significant other, the ones that I've engaged with, I've said, look, when my kids come, there's no you. You get me the other time. I need you for me. I don't need you for them. So if you can't handle that at this point, this season, appreciate you.
But you do know that at some point that's got to change.
Right. It will change. When that right person,
I got you.
yeah,
I got
when
you.
that, but I
You hadn't
haven't.
found
Mm-mm,
that person yet
no.
who has.
and
No.
how's it got to change?
Well, at some point, you're going to have to introduce. If you
True.
find that
True.
person, you're going to have to introduce them to your
True.
kids. You can't pop them one day and be
True.
like, "Hey, that's Daddy's
True.
wife,"
True.
and you haven't and they
What?
haven't met the kids yet.
Wait a minute. We're not gonna go there.
Well, you
Well, I've been.
should.
There we go.
Let me
That's
back
what
up.
I said.
You should.
Right. Right. So.
So at some point, they need to meet the kids. Need
Right.
to meet whoever this
Right.
person is.
Right.
The kids need to feel this person.
Right.
This person needs to feel the kids.
Amen.
I might not want to do this
I agree.
because this is somebody else's kid.
Do you
They
see?
have none of my personality.
Do you see my eyes? I agree.
Yeah.
But that's not this episode.
No, I got you. So I mean, having been there, mine were not much older, but older. Well, actually, no, not in one case. But so at some point, you get there. The person's right. You'll know. They'll meet the kids. The kids will be like, okay, this person's pretty cool. and then everybody does their thing. You know, you may or may not blend families. There's a whole lot of stuff that comes with this other side of it.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot.
Right.
Yeah.
I can write a book about
Right.
it. Because we're almost out of time. I need to shift. I need to shift this conversation just really quick, if you guys
Okay.
don't mind.
Okay.
And this is more so not necessarily about any of our personal experiences. This is more so about societal ills.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've all contributed to that number,
Mm-hmm.
or will be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they say the average divorce rate in America, I think, is about 50% right
Mm-hmm.
now. So 50%, one out of every two people who get married are going to get a divorce, and then that number actually goes up to 70% the second time, which is scary as crap. Um, what do you think as a society? And this is not just. I'm going to actually hold it into Black America.
Mm.
Because I'm over the podcast, the talking heads, the blogs, vlogs, whatever you call it. I'm over the man bashing. I'm over the woman bashing.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting our teeth kicked in as a culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about, let's back up. We're kicking our teeth in
Mm-hmm.
as a culture, where the other people can sit back and be like, yeah, let's keep watching them do that. And by while they're doing that, you know, and getting caught up in a lot of this other stuff that means nothing, we're gonna slide this bill. We're gonna kill this bill on affirmative action. We're gonna take history, African American history, out of schools.
Mm-hmm.
But yet everybody's rah because Shaniqua is killing Pookie over here verbally, and Pookie's killing Shaniqua verbally, but yet we're getting killed as a culture because we've taken our eyes off the prize.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, and I'm hell bent on this. Hence another reason why we started this podcast. I sat with a group of people last night. We do this quarterly couples thing in Charlotte. My wife and I hadn't been because we moved away for 5 years and we're back, and now this was our first one in the last 5 years or whatever. It's a quarterly thing of nothing but Black couples. All of us are friends. I happen to be the elder statesman of the group. The next person was 50, and then everybody else was 40s and 30s. But it was so dope
Mm-hmm.
to see
Mm-hmm.
these Black couples. It was 5 couples, so 10 of us in total.
Mm-hmm.
That is the narrative that we don't paint
Mm-hmm.
as a people.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't generate clickbait.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't generate ad sales.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't generate followers and likes. The rah-rah, you ain't this and you ain't that, is what generates all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my thought is, at some point, we got to shine that spotlight
Mm-hmm.
on couples that are actually working and making it. Doesn't mean you haven't gone through stuff. Doesn't mean you haven't been divorced and you did it all over again. But the narrative has got to change.
Right.
Because I need you
Mm-hmm.
and you need me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some song somebody made.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it real easy
Mm-hmm.
for those who don't look like us to come in and say, it's already been done.
Mm-hmm.
Crack epidemic started that.
Right.
And it did it.
Right.
And now we're doing it to each other. They don't need to throw crack at us. They just throw social media at us now. And we kill each other.
Right.
I'm on my soapbox, so I apologize. So I say that to say, what would you tell people, Dr. Colson, put your doctor hat on, to help change that narrative and let's bring this Black thing back together, this Black love back together.
It's what you've participated in, we have to do more of, right? And again, that's why I'm sitting with you now. That's why I wrote that book. I believe in marriage. I truly believe in Black love. I do. I want us to always win. Going back cyclical, default mode. Everybody hasn't seen what Black marriages were before, right? And if you haven't seen, we have to be able to be the vessels. We have to provide the opportunities. That's why God led me to do that book. Nobody wants to put their business out in the air. No one. I fought it. But my goal is I want to help those who are going into marriage and those who are in their marriages, because it's difficult. I've been there. I know it's difficult. But if you can read this book and pay attention to some of the things that I've experienced, hopefully it will allow you all to engage in conversation, to get butt naked honest. If people can take that book or any other book, there's a number of books that I read going through and on the backside now. Engage. Find your sister circle. You talk about my sisters. That's what we do. We engage in conversation. You all do the same thing. We do it separately, but like you said, bring the couples together, right? And then we also have to start with our children.
Yes.
As I started off with this, children are little humans with feelings as well, right? How do we do it? I'm not the subject matter expert on this. I'm learning and growing through experience. I was going to sing again, experience is the good teacher, right? It takes someone like me to know. Experience is allowing me to gain knowledge. Experience is allowing me to be exposed and exposed to other people where they're opening up to me. And I'm working to be a listening ear, right? But you still, at the end of it, you have to make choices for yourself. And you got to choose. And like I said the last time, people have to choose themselves or choose their marriage. And if you choose your marriage, the two of you got to want it. We can do a lot of restoration if we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and authentic. But the only way that we're going to be that way, and I believe especially men, we women have to, again, be slow to react, be patient, and respond.
And turn that damn television off. Love and hip hop, the Real Housewives of this, that, and the other is not it.
Yeah. Things are not, everything is not what they seem. And literally, when I was trying to make my decision, I turned off the TV. I turned off the radio. I said again, I removed, for the most part, everybody so I could hear myself internally.
Kill the noise.
And so I could hear and see and feel the signs.
It's good.
Well, look,
It's good.
we appreciate you being back for a second taping.
Yeah.
You're one of our favorites.
Yeah.
We appreciate your transparency and your candor.
Didn't know that the issue of divorce would be so impactful on so many people, and to Dee Dee's point, so appreciative of your transparency and your candor. You know I love you. And have gotten some healing from Restore the Joy, encourage other folks to pick it up and read it. As candid as she is in real life, she's as candid as she is on paper. And there's more to come, because it's a tough subject. We probably had more conversations about you in your initial episode reading the book than we had anything else to date that we've done with the podcast. And the masses have spoken. This is something they want to discuss more of, and we look forward to hoping and helping to hopefully facilitate some of those conversations with you.
Mama, and would love to.
She is coming to a book signing near
Come
you.
on. Come on.
She's also coming to a speaking circuit.
Come on.
We're speaking into an existence.
We are.
Come
We
on.
are. We are.
But look,
Thank you.
that's That's
Thank
it for
you.
this episode of a Soul of a Man podcast. Again, Dr. Laura, appreciate you being here. We love you.
Thank
We're
you.
out.